And we're back. So, as I wait for you all to be pulled back into the space to join us, I see the numbers increasing. That's great. I am joined by Dave Willingham. We're really getting into the nitty gritty now. This topic, I got to personally say, interests me greatly. So, the understanding of how blended learning could be enhanced through the use of xAPI is where David's going to take us on the journey of the work that he has done in that area. Um, at the end of the session, that's when I think, David, you were saying maybe have questions come in then, and the team and I will happily feed those to you. And to everybody who's watching, just drop your questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll monitor that. And then we'll kind of feed those to David at the very end of his presentation. So I'm going to step away, David, and let you take over from here. Have a great presentation.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So as mentioned, my name is Dave Willingham. I am a designer and developer at Verizon within their Global Learning and Development Group. I've been with the company for probably 20 years, so quite a long time. I've been working with xAPI for approximately 2 years-ish, and primarily with Storyline, integrating in that with Storyline, using its existing functionality, but also customizing my statements to get really with the data that I was looking for that Storyline was not able to provide. For the project that I want to present today, though, this is I'm titling it a blended approach to leadership training using xAPI. And I say blended approach because we're using a microsite and a microsite with a back end of xAPI, as well as other APIs in play. And then that's going along with virtual sessions led by facilitators. So the project was initially targeted for our top 300 executive leadership. The goal was to really step outside of the norm of your standard page turner OLT and create something that is more engaging, more interactive. But we still wanted to be able to track, our metrics. We needed to track, are the learners engaged? We needed the basic reportings like completion. Did they complete this interaction? Did they participate? How were they engaged? So we wanted to create a better user experience outside of the norm, but also get the data that we needed. And so the solution for that was a microsite with, like I said, an xAPI backend. Like the previous presenter, we use Watershed for our LRS. I highly recommend Watershed. It has a robust dashboard reporting capability. So that's what we use for our LRS. And as I mentioned, we have some other APIs in play to gather the completion credit for our LMS. So I only have one slide. I kind of like to just dig right in and not bore you with my particular slides. So I just want to jump right into the project that I created, show you some of the ins and outs of it, and then open it up for any questions. So I'm going to go off camera and jump right in. Okay, so this is the microsite itself. Let me close out this modal here. So I've got my dev tools open because I want to show you some of the calls that are being made as you walk through and interact with this microsite. And I'll show you that in a second. But just a little bit of a background about this program called Leadership Edge and what it's really all about. So really the program is tied to 3 particular pillars. So you can see those at the top: audacity, trust, and adaptability. And really what the program was trying to do is to first gauge where all of our leaders are in terms of those 3 pillars, where they are, excelling at within those pillars, but also where opportunities for growth are within those pillars. So where are they being audacious with their teams and leading their teams? Are they building trust within their teams? And then, coming out of the pandemic, we launched this last year. We wanted to gauge how adaptable they were within their teams, dealing with all of the things that were happening within the world. So this site is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's a nice, clean interface. Each pillar has like informative pages that they can learn about things that are related to this particular pillar out in the industry, within other companies. So they can just click around, browse, and just learn more about what this whole program is all about. What is being audacious about as a leader. They can view topics to get inspired, different stories of success in being audacious within other companies. So again, just some informative information. Um, Really, the meat of this program was within the experiments. So the goal of the program initially was to have the leaders sort of self-assess, go through an initial survey, and I'll show you that survey here in a second. To again, like I said, gauge where they're at in terms of these three pillars, and then for the pillar that they have the most opportunity for growth, we would have them take a look at these experiments that they could run within their teams. So these are pre-selected experiments, so you can click on these modal windows. You can learn about the experiment that you could run with your team, the goal of that experiment. You could learn about, hey, how am I going to get started with this experiment, and then things that they might track. So the leaders would go through here and they would pick whichever tile or program that they want to run with their team. And then they would submit this form. So they would select the experiment that they found the most interesting. It would pre-populate the description for that, and they would put in how they're going to conduct this experiment. And that's sort of how this program was led. Again, it was tied to several different virtually led sessions. So it was over a period of probably 3 weeks. So the leaders of those virtual sessions would send the participants back to the microsite, and then back to the virtual led sessions to talk about what they learned or where they are in their current leadership. And so it was a lot of back and forth. So let's go back to the home page, and I'll show you that initial self-assessment. So this assessment is where xAPI comes into play. And I am going to go over to my console tab and the developer tools. You can kind of see what I have going on here. So upon entry, and let me just refresh this to start it over. Upon entry, I'm initializing my connection to the LRS. So I'm connecting to Watershed here. I can tell we have a sandbox environment for Watershed as well as a production environment. So we do all of our UAT in sandbox, and then when we're ready for production, we move it there. So I can tell where I'm at, where I'm sending my data based on this console log. And I go like overkill when I'm developing and something like this. I like to kind of see step by step what's happening in the background right here on the front end. So that's what this is all about. So again, I'm in the production LRS environment. I can see that my LRS is set up. I'm also connecting to our LMS. As I mentioned, I worked with our IT department to script out an API that would connect to that LMS from this website, something we've never done before. But we were able to pull it off. So I can see here that I'm connecting, LMS reporting is enabled. I've just determined, I'm attempting to identify the learner, the user. I see that I've got connected, and then I've identified my user. And then what I'm doing here is I'm running a query against the LRS. I'm accessing Watershed. I'm running a query and saying, has this person that's currently logged in already taken this survey? And I'm doing that for two reasons. First, I only want to present this survey to the learner once. So upon completion of this survey, I send a completed statement over to Watershed to say, this person completed this survey. So then as I query this upon entry, the leader is no longer presented with this survey. They don't need to take it. So it doesn't interfere with what they're trying to do. Secondly, the content development team, I was just a developer and designer on this. But the owners of the program would, identify these leaders who have not actually taken the self-assessment. They would use that completed statement as a way to reach out to those who have not taken it so that we can engage them and get them involved in the program. So I'll just walk through this really quickly. Some basic stuff here. Just a survey question. They're going to answer very frequent, somewhat frequent, moderate, and so on. There are 3 questions tied to each pillar, so 9 questions total. I have those dots here so you can kind of tell where you're at. So the first 3, I'm just going to keep answering here, are tied to Audacity. I'm calculating where they are. So each of these options have a numerical value tied to them. So very frequent would be 5, very infrequent would be 1. So I'm tallying these up to determine where they are in terms of, so these questions are, obviously tied to the pillars. So we're trying to determine where they are in terms of applying these principles or these leadership skills of audacity, trust, and adaptability within their teams. So I'm behind the scenes, I'm calculating this. I'm keeping track of what they're selecting. So now I'm into the trust section. All of these questions are related to trust. And in a minute, I'm going to show you Watershed in the back end of what it looks like in the reporting side. Okay. So we've answered the survey. It gives them some feedback. Looks like you're already a champion of adaptability. So you should start at Audacity. Okay, so it's sort of calculating. You can see in the log here all of the stuff that I'm tracking. It tells you when a statement was saved successfully. It gives you their answer. I can see all of this stuff here. But if you pop over to Watershed, this is what the leadership team or the program team used to track. So you can see all of the questions here in place. You can tell how many people answered. You can see the possible choices as well as the percentage of those. So a really cool visual here. Again, I highly recommend Watershed for an LRS. The reporting dashboard capabilities are impressive. Okay, so that is the survey. That's the first use of xAPI within the microsite. So let me hop over here to the experiment section. So again, this is probably like the second virtual session of this program. The leaders are directed to the microsite, to this particular section. Whichever pillar that they needed the most growth in, that's where they would focus their experiment on. They would, again, view which experiment they want to conduct within their teams. And then they would fill out this form. So I'm just going to go ahead and submit this form. We'll just add some test data here. And then click submit. And then over here on the console, we can see what happened. So we're tracking which fields were submitted through xAPI. You can see some of the responses there. I submitted 7 or 6 statements. But also what I'm doing here in the back end is I'm querying Watershed again upon submission of this form to determine if an LMS completion has been sent already. So the first time that a leader comes in here and submits their first experiment, they were directed to submit several experiments, but upon the first one, we wanted to capture their interaction and make sure that we're able to accommodate the reporting requirements within the LMS so that they get credit for going through this program. So I would, upon submission, if they don't have a completed statement already within Watershed, I would send a SCORM completion to the LMS, and then submit all of the xAPI statements along with the xAPI completed statement. So the next time they come in here and submit a form, it won't send that VZLearn. VZLearn is our LMS. So it won't send this VZLearn completion again because we don't want to overload the system and have our reporting off track or it's out of sync. So that is the extent of the microsite. Again, I can pull up some of this reporting. I'm hesitant to do some of that because within Watershed, we're storing our employee IDs. In this view, you're not able to see that. I wish I could show more, but unfortunately, just due to privacy, I can't show you the other data that we collected just due to privacy concerns. But yeah, so that is really the extent of the microsite, how we incorporated xAPI. Again, we really wanted to create something that was out of the box. We all go through training, most of us do, and it's an OLT produced either in Storyline, Rise, or Captivate, and it's based most of the time it's just a click through. So again, we wanted to create something a little bit more engaging, a little bit more interactive, but still be able to capture all of the data, all of the reporting that was required. So I rambled through the the presentation and the demo here. Again, I just wanted to jump right in and show you the details of it. But I guess at this point we could open it up to any questions. I'm happy to show any code samples that anyone might want to check out, or how I did anything. So feel free to throw any questions into the chat or to the QA. So Mark, I'm not able to see anything in the chat, so I just wanted to see if I'm like missing the view here.
No, you're not missing the view. Just sometimes people are just pondering what they have and get questions. I know Sam just left just a comment about it's great to see. Thanks so much for sharing this. Now, to the audiences there, David mentioned sharing possibly some code samples, things like that, if you wanted to see something more of the technical side. So let's give everybody just kind of a few minutes if they want to post a question.
Yeah, and I guess we could open it up and just see, has anyone developed any thing outside of the normal rapid development tools like Storyline or Rise and incorporated xAPI? Like I remember hearing I think it was the second presentation, which was really cool, where they sent an xAPI statement when a door opened to a conference room, which I think is pretty clever. So I'm just curious, anybody else create anything like that? And if so, what was it? Because I'm always looking for opportunities to expand this capability.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think that's something, I'm not somebody who designs and develops in xAPI, but I remember in the earliest days of it, the promise of xAPI was always about the experiences outside the course. And you can, obviously track those and manipulate and have it trigger and do those things to bring different experiences together or new information and assessment. And so I've always been curious because a lot of people will focus on the authoring tools too. So to reiterate what David was asking for, if anybody in the session right now has explored, experimented with xAPI outside of those things, maybe it's not opening and closing a door, but it's something that's similar. It'd be really great to hear. We did get one in here. Sam's talking about it again. I don't know if you see the chat, David, at all, but if there's a little icon if you check. I'm working on making a web analytics package for WordPress via xAPI to track how people are getting to use, getting to our content.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Good.
Well, I'm just curious. I'll throw this out there because this is something that we have struggled with at Verizon. I spoke about, we have our LMS, we have our LRS. So we're currently in the migration phase of moving from PeopleSoft LMS to Workday. And as many of you probably know, neither one of those LMSs support xAPI natively. So we've had to do a lot of custom stuff. And I was really intrigued by the previous presentation about creating a wrapper for Rise, because I've experienced that too, where there's really limited data that you can pull out of Rise natively. And so I've had to create something similar for our content to work within our LMS, is basically create a custom JavaScript library um,
Mm.
that where you publish your course as xAPI, but you load it into LMS as like a non-compliant course. So there's no SCORM tracking. It's not requiring a manifest file, but it still has the hooks in for your LRS. It still is able to use, just like I did on this microsite, the API to send back to the LMS as SCORM. So I'm just curious, anybody else experience those struggles?
Doesn't seem so. Nothing on that, David. Did you have anything else you wanted to offer up to prompt any other thinking, other things you're curious? I mean, I think that's fun to hear from your perspective too. Is say you did this, and you're looking at others saying, "Hey, I want to hear from you. Like, what have you done X, Y, and Z, or had these particular problems?"
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Some things came in. Let's see.
Michelle, yeah, I see Michelle wrote. I was in Team Rise. She said we had trouble trying to figure out what things were called.
Okay.
And then Alicia asked, is there a difference in a microsite and a regular website? How are you defining those?
Yeah, that's a great question. That might be something internally to our group, but we define a microsite as something that is very focused, oriented, like this particular purpose, like we're using it as a learning experience versus a website where people will come in and just get a ton of different information, or like this is our community site where you can download these documents, or go check out this resource. It's a really more focused idea behind the site itself, and it's very intentional. So that's how we would define a microsite.
Got it. Makes sense to me. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in.
All right. Well, yeah, I just want to take time to say thank you. I mean, this is my first time to
Yeah.
participate in a CPI party. I wasn't even able to participate in a cohort this year. Some of my coworkers actually did, but yeah, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present. This has been great.
Well, yeah, we thank you for sharing it. It's a nice, example of something unique, and Verizon's a big organization, so it's exciting to see and how this moves forward. I hope your team members who join the cohort now come back a lot stronger to work with you in these areas. So
Yeah, definitely.
good, good. So, David, if you have time, and a lot of times people are pondering things, please pop over when I end the session, and have a seat at the table. And again, if somebody shows up, great, have that conversation. If you wait just a little bit and nobody shows, well, then I thank you for your time and your contribution.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Just to let you know, we will start again at the top of the hour. Mary Gutwein will be here, and she'll be sharing about using xAPI in a software simulation. That's at the top of the hour. So this is a great chance, depending on where you are in your time zone, to get a stretch, get a bite to eat, check your email, do a little bit of work, whatever it might take. But we'll see you shortly. Thank you.